Do you develop on Mac or Linux and don't think you can test your websites using Microsoft Edge? Today, you have no excuse. Microsoft announces a free partnership with Browserstack that allows developers on all platforms to test Microsoft Edge for free.
Okay, so just moments ago, Microsoft and Browserstack announced a strategic partnership to allow free testing of Microsoft Edge on the Browserstack platform. And just to give you a little bit of background, Browserstack is what I would call a virtual web testing platform because they host multiple virtual images of different devices and platforms and browsers so that you can better test your websites and web applications in different scenarios. And this is important because today's landscape requires literally tens of thousands of possible end user devices, and it's just not feasible for any company to maintain a device lab that is that diverse. Now, Browserstack allows you to virtually test your applications in all of these different browsers on different platforms. I always recommend you have at least a minimal physical device lab available to you. For example, I have an iPhone, I have a couple of Androids, and I have a Windows phone, but I also have a couple of 7-inch tablets. I have a 10-inch tablet, and I have an iPad as well as my Surface. However, for me, one key thing that is missing is a Mac or a MacBook. And this is because I don't really want to invest several $1,000s in a platform just for testing that I'm personally not going to use. Now, to that effect, that means I have a problem testing Safari. But many web developers are the complete opposite. They're working on Mac, and they don't necessarily install Parallels and put a virtually hosted Windows environment on Mac for them to test. But they still need to test to make sure their applications work in Microsoft Edge. Now, if you are truly complying with web standards, your website should not have a problem in Microsoft Edge. However, there's always those edge cases, a little funny there, where you need to test. And this is one of the reasons why Microsoft has partnered with Browserstack to offer a free testing environment. Now, this isn't the first attempt that Microsoft's made at helping developers that don't work on Windows test Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer, but this is the latest one, and this is probably a really good solution. The fact that they're making it free is also a great idea. So let's just review some of the features and offerings that Microsoft is making available to developers through this Browserstack partnership. And this is their blog post that they posted just a few minutes ago, probably in the last half hour. And, you know, obviously they were thrilled about announcing this, but let's look at some of the things. Just a little more background about Browserstack. They have 36,000 companies that use Browserstack. However, I think most developers are still a little unaware that the offering is there, so hopefully this will help expand knowledge of this offering. Now, I've got to admit, I've known it's been there for a while. Personally, I don't use it, but it's not saying that I don't like it. It's just not part of my budget, let's say. And it just depends on customers whether or not they want to use it or not. And a lot of times because it's my own properties and stuff that I'm maybe building, put a budget in there for something like Browserstack's not that enticing. To have a free offering like this is very exciting for somebody like me. But let's look at how this is going to work. So what they're saying, because I have not tested this yet, so this is important that we go over it. Live testing provides a remote cloud-based instance of Edge over WebRTC. So if you're not familiar with WebRTC, that's a technology that enables effectively live communication. So think Skype or FaceTime or whatever, but via the browser. And this is something that Edge and other browsers have supported at least a year or two now. It started off as ORTC, but there were some security concerns with that version of the specification. So this is kind of version 2 of that. And you know, Microsoft did take a lot of heat for not supporting the first version, but it was because of security issues. But now they've kind of got those things ironed out, and we're good to go. So they're using that technology, which is pretty cool. And here's something that's interesting. You can use the cloud-based browser just as you would if it was installed on your local platform. So that, look at this, Mac OS, Linux, or older versions of Windows. So think about that. A lot of developers, especially in corporate world and enterprise space, are still stuck on Windows 7. They haven't gone through the upgrade yet. Now that's going to change in the next year as Windows 7 becomes deprecated. But even in that case, you can't run Edge on Windows 7 because the operating system just does not support the features that Edge needs to be able to run. And of course, Edge isn't going to run on Linux or Mac because Edge is designed to be the best browser on Windows. At least that's their goal. Okay, they're not going to focus their energies on other platforms. So this is kind of an interesting statement here. That means it's going to be kind of feel like a local browser on these other platforms, which is very, very interesting in my opinion. Um, Now, here's another one. I'm not really this is another thing I really don't have any experience at. Very minimal, to say the least, is using the WebDriver API to actually script automated testing. I have done this a little bit in the past. I am very rusty with it at this point. It's been a few years, so this is not something I feel like I'm up to date on using. I know a lot of developers do build really good automated scripts to walk through their websites to test things. And it's been a while since I've had the opportunity to truly do that. It's been more one of those things trying to get clients to effectively budget and allocate resources around this to understand the importance of having a repeatable automated test script for the solution. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just pointing that out because I'm not going to be able to really demonstrate that with any effectiveness for you. But it is very nice that you can use the WebDriver API, and you're kind of seeing this animated GIF file here. Hopefully you don't go into epileptic shock from it, but that's kind of how it runs. It really runs things really quick, automated for you. All right. Let's see, what else do we got here? Oh, you're going to get access to 3 versions of Edge. You're going to get the 2 most stable releases, which is going to be effectively what the masses would get access to. And they're saying the 2 most recent. And this is a very important aspect too, because when you want to test your website, the best practice is to test N-1. That means the most current version and the previous version of a browser. Okay, you should not need to worry about N-2, N-3, whatnot. And this is because every browser today does automatic in-place updates. So the chances of somebody having that very out-of-date version of a browser is probably going to be very slim. Okay, and again, you should always feature detect anyway. So just in case you've got a feature that's being used that's more modern. Let's say you're using Fetch, for example. You can do feature detection to see if you want to use Fetch or dynamically load the Fetch polyfill, right? So that's kind of one of the reasons or ways you can deal with this testing. But it's very important, I think, that they are kind of honoring this best practice of the current version and the previous version. But they're also going to offer the preview release. And this is what's in the Insider's fast string. The version of Edge that I'm using is on the latest Insider's build, so I've always got access to that Insider preview thing. So I'm lucky enough to get to test the buggy beta versions of everything. Uh, but this is great too. It gives you an opportunity to test what's coming in the next release of Edge, so that you can kind of verify that your site will work there as well. Now, they're making an explicit statement right here today, which is March 28th or whatever. I'm not even sure what the day is. Let's see. Oh, March 30th. I'm way off. Anyway, you can test the Windows 10 anniversary update today. Edge 15, which is what's coming out this summer, looks like that's going to be dropped in the creators update on April 11th, which is about 2 weeks from now. And that sounds to me like it's going to be the Insider Ring is going to be available, and that's when Browserstack is going to pick up that preview release. It looks like, so they're going to essentially catch up to the Insider's release somewhere in there. It's not saying that it's going to be available April 11th. It's saying, the way I interpret this, the Edge 15 is going to be shipping in the April 11th Insider's Ring, and then Browserstack will get that infrastructure set up to support that version going forward. So it sounds like they're going to have a little bit of delay from when these insider rings come out, just so they make sure they get their infrastructure worked out so that there's no apparent bugs in the deployment of those latest insider builds. So, and again, it's not, I don't think it's like super uber mission critical that the moment the insider ring drops that you can test in Browserstack, because remember, it's still, that's like months out preview of what's going to ship to the masses. So it's not uh, that exciting. So those are kind of the feature offerings here. What I want to do next is I'm going to attempt to actually sign in and see what this testing experience is like.
If you're a web developer and you want to stay up to date on some of the latest information around Microsoft Edge and its capabilities, you definitely want to subscribe to the Love to Dev YouTube channel. But we don't just limit ourselves to Microsoft Edge. We talk about great web development practices, and we try to focus on things like progressive web apps and service workers to help educate the web developers on how to deliver the best web solutions to engage their customers. Again, if you want to keep up with some of the latest web development technologies, make sure you subscribe to this channel.